Welcome back. You're watching the official launch of AMC Consultants' Singapore office. I'm Mark Lowdy. Thanks very much for joining us today. Well, let's say you think you've struck it rich. You've found some ore resources in the ground, and now you're planning to develop that into a mine. Clearly, there are many steps that you need to take, and sometimes these take a lot of time, money, and effort to get there. But what precise steps do you need to take in such a way that minimizes your expenditure and maximizes the potential for success? Our guest joining us here in the chair is Rob Chesher, who's with us here from AMC Brisbane, where he's the general manager. He's also principal metallurgist. Thanks so much for making the time. I guess this is the question that all mines go through at some point. We know there's something in the ground. How do we get it from that stage into something that's mineable, that becomes value added? What are some of the unique AMC methods that you've developed to get through that process?
Yes, it's a subject that's near and dear to my heart as a processing engineer and a metallurgist in a world dominated by geologists and mining engineers. The tendency can be to focus on finding something in the ground and then digging it up. And after that, it's up to those processing people to lose half of it, and the recovery is never what the miner thinks it should be. And so from my perspective, AMC's approach, which we call Geominmet, covers all the disciplines in an integrated fashion, gathering the information that you need to optimize the economic benefit from a resource in the ground, collecting that information in the right time frame for it to be of use to convert resources into reserves, and then to design a mine, to develop and specify and detail the processing that's required, and to dispose of waste in an environmental fashion, environmentally acceptable fashion, and to meet the standards of the community that you're operating in. Information that's required to do that has to be collected early in the process to avoid waste, to avoid duplication, and to optimize the enterprise as early as possible before major capital is spent.
What specific competitive advantage does AMC have in this process? Because I assume that all metallurgists such as yourself, all geologists say, oh yes, I have a process, I know what I'm doing. How can you tell?
AMC is one of the few fully integrated, full service providers in this part of the industry. We can offer geology, geotechnical engineering, mining, all disciplines, mine design, mine planning, strategic optimization of the mining and processing functions, and environmental compliance, all under one roof. So somebody can come to AMC and we can provide that package. We can also, for a new company or a startup company that does not have any expertise, technical expertise in the industry, we can offer the full service, starting from design and supervision of the drilling and sampling program that's required to collect the data that you need.
Now, Rob, clearly a few years have passed since you started in the business. How has the process changed in that time?
Just recently, AMC has made some spectacular progress in development of optimization strategies for the whole mining chain, for the integrated enterprise. We have a program called Hill of Value, where we can find literally the hill of value in multiple variables. So if you can imagine it in a three-dimensional space, it won't be a graph with a peak. It'll be a surface, with the top of a hill. Equally well in 4 dimensions or 5 dimensions, as many variables as a big computer can handle. We can optimize and find the hill of value considering many variables. And if you collect the correct information early, you can carry out these optimization studies before you've moved one spade of dirt in the ground. So you can optimize the grade, the processing method that's chosen. You can switch partway through, anticipating changes in the characteristics of the ore. You can avoid the kinds of spectacular problems that have that have been exhibited and that have befallen even very big projects where people have not been able to anticipate a change in materials such that the enterprise can't process the material as they initially thought they could, or as they could at the beginning, but now they can't. So these kinds of changes through time can be anticipated, planned for, and the economic benefit optimized right at the beginning, so that investors are aware of what's ahead of them in the years to come in a project.
So in other words, the risks haven't changed, but the methodology to manage the risk has improved.
And to quantify costs involved, and it gives investors a chance to make a decision up front instead of getting led down a path where they'll be forced to make further investments in the future to preserve the performance of the mine, which they were not anticipating having to make.
This must have also implications for lawyers and accountants who possibly have never had any exposure to the resources industry, but are now, because of the rise of resources companies in Southeast Asia, all of a sudden they're getting into it. Well, what's your key advice to those people who've not been through that learning curve that you have?
I think certainly the answer to your question is definitely yes. Looking in the future, the financial analysis portion of these projects it was always important, but even more so now. And from our perspective, as technical experts, we very often provide the inputs to financial experts on projects. So we're relying on their expertise in looking into the future on metal prices and on market movements. We provide technical inputs, and because of the strength of our ability to plan the mine into the future, we can provide the technical inputs into their financial models that allow them to advise their clients on what cash flow will look like into the future.
Right. Thank you very much, Rob. Great to talk to you. Rob Chesher from AMC Consultants in Brisbane, but here today at the Singapore Exchange for the official launch of AMC Consultants' Singapore office. Back in a few moments with more pictures of the official launch taking place here at the IPO pit today.